Hello. We are here with a video that I have been asked quite a few times to make, even though I don't know if I am necessarily the right person for the job, but I am going to share my take on a beginner's how to stamp in your planner video, and we are going to make this currently page. So first things first, one of the reasons I love a disc bound planner is because you can remove the page and work on a completely flat surface. So I like to work on these cut mats. Smooth. If I get ink on it, I can wash it off very easily. I've got the page that I am stamping, and in addition to that, the minimal supplies for a beginner, I would say some scratch paper, a good black ink pad. I really love VersaFine. I think mine is 1100 years old and it's still working just fine. You need stamps. So for this page, I'm using a vintage L Studio Currently stamp and some Lawn Fawn Icon stamps. These are several years old, but I know you can still get them on Amazon. And then you need some clear stamp blocks. For the currently, I'm using this bigger stamp and it just barely fits, but it fits enough to where I can get a clean stamp. And for these little icons, I actually prefer a smaller block to where there is not a lot of empty block around the stamp, because sometimes you can get a corner involved and you don't want that. So first things first, you've got your stamps and you've got your block. You're going to take your stamp off of there. You're going to do your best to center your stamp on your block. I like to press the stamp onto the block. As I said, not a stamping professional, but it's been working so far. So you take it, your stamp is on your block, you blot the stamps a few times. Again, I know the people who really are like professional will pick up the ink pad and do this, but I drop the ink pad when I do that, and it's not very pretty. So we're going with this method. I am going to just eyeball the currently at the top of the page. And then the reason I like to have the scratch paper is because I like to just blot the ink off of the stamp. And then I just peel this off and put it away. For the icons, what I'm going to do is take a pencil and just sort of draw a line on here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Did a pretty good job of centering without trying. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the icon essentially right here in a 2x2 grid so that I have room to write my journaling lines and then put a task on the outside. So the goal is to keep it essentially 3 and 3 to try to center it. I will explain, don't worry. And then all I do is pick the icons that sort of fit for the week and what I want to summarize. I'm going to cheat and look at what I did last time. They are not connected to the MakseLife colors at all. Just kind of in a rainbow order. So again, you remove the clear stamp. I try to get it as close to the middle as possible, but it really doesn't matter. I do find, however, if you put the stamp too far up here, sometimes you'll pick up ink on the empty part of the block. So keeping the stamp towards the middle kind of helps to not pick up ink on the outer edges. And so as you put the ink onto the stamp, you're trying to hold it pretty straight, avoiding the edges from hitting the ink. As you press your stamp down onto the paper, you try to press down straight and evenly. And because this block is on the smaller side, I'm able to press down on all four corners and you get a pretty evenly inked up clear image. And one of the reasons I love this VersaFine ink is because it leaves such a nice, clean image. However, one of the benefits to using black ink, especially as a beginner, is if you don't get a clean image, you can simply fill in with a black pen. And then as I'm going down, I am going to, let's draw in. I want to have 2 lines for the journaling, and then I want to skip a line and have the next line of journaling start here, which means I'm going to skip a line for the next icon. So as you can see, I wasn't really paying attention and I was going too quickly, and I picked up some ink on that corner. And what happens is you run the risk of, if you push unevenly, you're gonna get a block mark on your page, which is not the end of the world and happens quite often. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a baby wipe and I'm just gonna wipe off that corner. And I'm going to slow down a little bit, pay more attention to what I'm doing. Blot the note, center it, and go. Clean it off. Replace. Let's do, instead of winning, let's do one of these. I actually am glad that I did that. So I will show you how to fill that in. We're gonna let it dry a little bit. Draw in the journal lines, skip down to here. Whoa. We're gonna do doing. Kind of like having the star, so we're gonna blot. Ooh, again. Ooh, ooh. I like celebrating or talking about what I'm drinking. And I think it's just a cute icon. pencil for writing. And then I've got one more, and I think we're gonna do the house for kind of what's going on at home. I thought about maybe doing the camera, but we're not gonna do that. So again, put it in the middle, blah, 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 come straight down, get the edges done. And then lastly, I love this just for kind of a highlight of the week. And as you can see, it doesn't really fit. You could go diagonally, but I'm gonna grab a bigger block for this one, just so it can kind of fit like that. And then for this one, I want to go over the center line a little bit, press down all four edges, done. This stamp block set, I believe I got on Amazon. I will try to link the one, but it's a few years old, so I'll try to find something similar. But there's really, these are the three that I use the most often. And then in my memory planning, I do use a bigger block because I like to use the date stamps, and they're often a little bit longer. But I think for a beginner, if you have one of the simpler sets of three, or what they typically come in, you will be fine. And one of the reasons I selected black ink as a beginner is because I think you can buy way too many things before you decide if you like it or not. So start simple, play around with it, see if you like it. I'm grabbing a 0.3 micron, and all I'm gonna do is sort of fill in where I didn't get a super clean image. And so now you'll never know. And then on this message bubble, fill that in. You'll never know that I didn't get a clean stamp. I'm gonna let this dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come in and color in the icons with a Mildliner, and I'm going to draw the journal lines. But I need this ink to dry a little bit before I do that. So I will be back with part 2. Okay, things are a little bit more dry, and all I'm gonna do is I'm going to take the finer edge of the Mildliner, and I'm gonna hand draw 2 lines to where I can journal about whatever it is I'm going to label there. And I like to write a specific task that was done towards what I'm currently loving, listening, saying, doing, etc. So we're just gonna draw in these lines. These icons. Okay, last step, I draw just a very light pencil line here so that I know where I want to write the task included with the journaling. So visually, even though it's not perfectly centered, this currently stamp, I centered the majority of the items that we'll be working with on the page. So design-wise, all of the images fill up the middle, and there are 3 grids on either side. So I didn't have to worry about measuring out while I was working, but I knew that I would eventually figure it out with these extra tasks on the side. If I had somehow stamped too far over to the right, I would just shorten the area where I was going to put just sort of a simple task. I also had fun last week with adding in cursive the highlighted area or item. And as I'm doing this, I realize I spaced everything a little bit different than last week. So here's how we're going to fix that. As you can see, I want to write, actually we can go over 1 square. So I want to write in cursive loving, but it's taking me out an extra square compared to last week. So all we're going to do is increase the distance over here. So we're left with 2 and 2. You may be wondering why, and I will show you. I'm going to write in the cursive off camera just because I need to lean over to get the pen at the right angle. But once I'm done, I will explain a little bit more. So let me put some pen on this paper and I will be right back. I might leave the camera on and do a time lapse, but I guarantee you're gonna catch some of my hair or some of my head, but I will fast forward it. We are back. I think that seeing the categories can help explain the process of the dots. The whole idea is to kind of get all of the text to be somewhere in the middle without having to make a grid and measure things out. It takes too long. And it really doesn't matter that much. So what I will do is I'm going to journal each of these things and then attach some sort of a task. An example would be from last week. I had some really good curl days and I took advantage of that and I filmed some videos, a really fun collab video. And all of this, as you can see, is pretty symmetrical on the page. Even though I really didn't do anything to measure out where I was stamping, I just tried to skip a line between the last line here and here. That's the only thing I really measured this week. I was actually a little bit more thoughtful this week, but we're done. All I have to do now is fill this in, and I think this is going to be something that I do in my MakseLife planner on the reflections page because I do a lot of reflecting in my actual journal. Please let me know if there's something I did not cover about stamping or if there's something I missed, and I would be happy to answer your questions below. Or in addition, let me know what you guys would like to see. I hope you have a great week, and I will definitely be back with another video.